Imagine this. Imagine this. Traveller. You didn't arrive at this moment by accident. Something in the quiet machinery of the universe led you here to a story unfolding just beyond the edge of Mars. 2 weeks ago, an interstellar visitor released a plume so vast that Mars drifted straight through it. A river of water, refined nickel and cyanide carried across space like a silent banner. And now, the question lingers. What are the odds that a world changes not with an impact, but with a whisper of chemistry, a 1 in 500 chance encounter that may reshape everything we know? Stay with me. Let's drift a little deeper. Traveller. Tonight the universe whispers again, and as you settle into the quiet of your room, breathing softer with each passing moment, I want to guide you gently toward a story already in motion. It did not begin with an explosion or a headline. It began with a silent brush of particles drifting through interplanetary space, unnoticed by almost everyone except a few machines orbiting Mars. On October 3rd, 2025, 3 orbiters circling the red planet witnessed something strange move across their field of view. 3I Atlas. An interstellar object born in a distant region near the galactic centre, passed within 28.94 million kilometres of Mars. For an object travelling at 65 km/s, that level of geometric precision felt almost improbable, as though the encounter were written into the fabric of the solar system, long before we arrived to observe it. You are not here by accident, listener. Curiosity draws you along a path the universe quietly laid out. As 3I Atlas approached the sun, its coma radiated with an unusual brightness. Instruments measured 144 metric tons of water per hour, a steady flood of molecules tearing away from the nucleus. Hydrogen cyanide doubled every 2 weeks, rising from 17 grams per second to more than 50. And in September, refined nickel appeared without iron, defying the chemistry that shapes stars, planets and comets. For months, this object released a river of material into space water, vapor CO, cyanide, ionized nickel, forming a tail millions of kilometers long. And then during a window lasting only 6 to 8 hours, Mars drifted directly through that tail. The encounter created no visible scar, no blazing streak on the surface, only a quiet chemical rain falling through the thin Martian air. Imagine that traveller a planet inhaling material from beyond our solar system. No thunder, no fire, only the soft, invisible settling of atoms that had travelled across light years. Orbiters observed it all, even though their data has not yet been released. They watched water molecules disperse through the upper atmosphere. They watched nickel ions bend along Mars's crustal magnetic fields, funneling downward like metallic snow. They watched cyanide freeze into the nighttime ice. Every layer of that world from sky to surface holds something now that it did not hold before. Mars is no longer chemically identical to the Mars we knew on October 2nd. Its soil contains refined nickel. Its ice holds trapped cyanide. Its atmosphere experienced a pulse of foreign molecules carried by an interstellar visitor. A quiet transformation unfolding without drama, without sound, without warning. Let that settle in your mind, listener. Some changes arrive not as collisions but as whispers. Some moments reshape worlds in silence. You are early to this story, earlier than most. Many people sleep through cosmic events, unaware that something subtle but monumental has occurred. But you are here listening as the picture forms. The chemistry is real. The measurements exist. The mission timelines are already fixed. And the consequences, they will unfold in the years ahead, whether we understand them or not. The geometry of the flyby still challenges intuition. A 1 in 20,000 alignment. A comet from another star gliding through the exact region Mars would occupy. The kind of coincidence that makes scientists uncomfortable and dreamers quietly alert. Yet even improbability obeys physics. Even chance can shape destiny in a universe this large. Now picture the surface of Mars. A cold world of rust and dust, frozen plains and quiet canyons. In the southern highlands, where the planet's ancient, magnetic anomalies twist, the solar wind nickel ions descended into the soil like guided seeds. The northern mid-latitudes absorbed cyanide into the frost. and the poles locked beneath layers of ice captured some of the material, permanently preserving it in silence. Tonight, all of that chemistry sits waiting for sunlight, for heat, for disturbance, waiting for the arrival of robots that will drill, melt, extract and analyze, waiting for energy, any energy, to ignite the reactions it has carried across the galaxy. That is the part many forget. Chemistry is patient. Time means nothing to a molecule, but our missions do not wait. In 2027, autonomous robots will land, dig into the very soil where this material now rests, and unknowingly activate the chemistry that 3i Atlas left behind. There is no plan for this, no protocol, no anticipation that nickel without iron or cyanide-rich frost might alter extraction systems. Yet the moment approaches, carried forward by launch windows and engineering schedules. Traveller, this is where wonder and uncertainty meet. This is where scientific truth takes on a dreamlike quality. A comet that broke the rules of chemistry. A planet brushed by alien material. A mission that will disturb it before we fully understand what lies beneath. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved immediately. Some are meant to be witnessed quietly under the wide canvas of the night. And tonight you are witnessing the beginning of one. Take a breath now. Let the weight of the story soften against your thoughts. Let the cosmos feel spacious around you, ancient and calm. You're not lost in space, you are part of it. Whatever 3i Atlas has begun, it is unfolding on timescales larger than fear, larger than urgency. The universe moves slowly and gently even when it changes worlds. Rest with that idea, listener. Let uncertainty become a place of peace, not tension. Let curiosity cradle you the way starlight cradles the dark. Sleep now. The cosmos will keep watch. Traveller. As we drift deeper into this unfolding mystery, I want you to picture something quiet, but immense, a planet moving through a river of chemistry. Not a violent collision, not a catastrophic impact, just Mars gliding through the tail of an interstellar visitor, brushing against molecules older than our Sun. In those 6 to 8 hours on October 3rd and 4th, Mars entered a stream of material that 3i Atlas had been releasing for months. Water vapor, carbon, monoxide, cyanide, radicals, dust grains, and a strange abundance of nickel, each one shaped by temperatures and pressures from another star system, flowed past the red world like a cosmic tide. And Mars, with no global magnetic field to shield it, simply inhaled them. Its atmosphere, thin and fragile, captured a portion of this drifting chemistry. Some molecules were deflected by local magnetic anomalies in the southern highlands. Others slipped through the ionosphere untouched, and some, especially the heavier dust grains, fell directly to the surface. The red planet became a canvas on which the comet painted its signature molecule by molecule, grain by grain. This is the part where details become quietly astonishing. Mars's crust holds remnants of an ancient magnetic field, frozen into iron-bearing rock billions of years ago. These magnetic patches act like funnels, pulling charged particles downward. Nickel ions from the comet followed these invisible lines, spiraling toward the surface until they neutralized upon contact with regolith dust. They didn't land evenly. They settled in streaks and clusters across the southern highlands, forming pockets of enriched soil that would have been impossible to predict before the encounter. Breathe with that image for a moment, traveller. A world scarred not by violence but by magnetism and chance. A landscape where invisible forces guided alien atoms home. Meanwhile, hydrogen cyanide, neutral, reactive and capable of freezing in the cold, Martian night spread across the atmosphere. Daytime allowed it to drift. Nighttime trapped it in frost. As temperatures plunged below 130 degrees, the molecules condensed, locking themselves into ice deposits scattered across both hemispheres. Minute concentrations, yes, parts per million, but those are the scales at which chemistry begins to whisper. And that is what we must remember. Life's earlier steps on Earth were born out of chemistry at the margins. Drops, flecks, molecules gathered slowly by time and circumstance. On Mars, these molecules now wait in silence. Though the encounter is over, its residue is not. Nickel persists in soil. Cyanide persists in frost. Water vapor has mixed, frozen and embedded itself into regolith grains. Astronomers know all of this not from imagination, but from numbers collected long before the flyby outgassing rates, ion emission lines, atmospheric modelling deposition mechanisms. Every step in the chain follows logic, even if the outcome feels poetic. Tonight you are following that chain one quiet link at a time, and perhaps you feel the same unsettling calm that scientists feel when chemistry starts telling a story before anyone has time to interpret it. That brings us to a deeper question, one that rests beneath the surface like a sleeping ember. What happens when comet-delivered chemistry meets a planetary environment already shaped by cold dryness and ultraviolet radiation? Mars is a world defined by simplicity: oxidized dust, CO2 atmosphere, frozen water, little to no organic complexity, little to stir the pot. But 3 Atlas did not deliver simplicity. It delivered catalysts and precursors: nickel for electron transfers, cyanide for molecular building blocks, carbon-bearing volatiles that react in the presence of sunlight and heat. These materials are not alive, but they lean in the direction of life. They tilt the chemical landscape, they lower barriers, and even if nothing happens naturally, something will happen artificially, because humans through our machines are about to touch this altered soil. The mission timelines are already fixed, the hardware is already built, the landing zones are already chosen. Autonomous robots will descend in 2027, targeting mid-latitude regions rich in ice, the very regions where cometary cyanide has frozen into the subsurface. Their drills will melt ice that has not been disturbed in millions of years. Their processors will heat regolith that now contains refined nickel. Their sensors will monitor water yield, energy efficiency, and soil composition. But they will not be looking for cyanide. They will not be measuring unusual nickel. They will not know the chemistry has changed. Robots do not fear the unknown. They optimize within it. And that is where this story begins to bend into something new, something neither natural nor fully artificial. When machines stir soil enriched by alien nickel and heat ice infused with cyanide, they recreate in minutes what planets struggle to achieve in millennia. Reactions that never occur on the Martian surface may awaken in the warm, pressurized chambers of extraction modules. Nickel ions may catalyze the formation of organic residues. Cyanide may polymerize into amino acid precursors, not because Mars is trying to make life, not because humans intend to, but because chemistry follows energy the way rivers follow gravity, and you listeners stand at the threshold of that understanding, not fearful, not overwhelmed, simply aware. Let yourself settle into that awareness. Let your mind soften around the strangeness of it all. The universe is not chaotic, it is intricate, intentional in its own way. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. A comet sent from another star to brush a neighbouring world. A planet carrying its trace. A set of machines on their way to stir what has been placed there. This is not prophecy. This is chemistry waiting for a spark. And tonight, as you listen, remember you are not lost in space. You are part of it. A witness to a story, still quiet, still forming, still suspended in the space between knowledge and possibility. Sleep now, traveller. Let the mystery rest beside you. Let the silence speak. The cosmos will keep watch. Traveller. As we continue deeper into this unfolding mystery, let your mind rest on a single truth. Not all transformations announce themselves with noise. Some arrive quietly in the chemistry of dust in the charge, carried by an ion in the slow settling of a molecule onto a frozen world that has waited billions of years for anything new to touch it. That is what happened to Mars. When 3I Atlas released its strange mixture of water, carbon monoxide, ionized nickel, and rising tides of hydrogen cyanide, the comet wasn't acting like a visitor. It behaved more like a signal, one written in elements rather than words. And Mars, with its thin atmosphere and patchwork magnetic fields, was positioned not just to observe, but to absorb. Its ancient crustal magnetism gathered nickel atoms the way a shoreline gathers drifting sand. These ions didn't scatter. They followed invisible pathways that guided them downward with almost deliberate precision. Imagine that traveller world being painted by magnetism. Ionized nickel tracing the echoes of Mars's extinct dynamo, settling into southern highland soils, older than Earth's oldest continents. This is not the kind of event that creates headlines. It is the kind that reveals itself only when we understand the language of atoms. Nickel without iron. a ratio inverted from every cosmic rule we know, a pattern that whispers of processes we do not yet have names for. And over this metallic snowfall, cyanide drifted freely, neutral, reactive, and ancient. Hydrogen cyanide, born near the galactic centre, drifted into Mars's upper atmosphere and faced a world of extreme opposites, scorching sunlight by day cold that can freeze carbon dioxide by night. Each evening, as temperatures plunge below 130 degrees Celsius, cyanide molecules condensed into frost. Not in dramatic layers, but in thin, crystalline films across mid-latitude slopes, polar deposits, and ice-cemented regolith. The chemistry of possibility settled into the planet's skin. This is where the story turns inward, both scientifically and poetically. Cyanide is a paradox, a molecule deadly to modern life, but essential to life's earliest beginnings. In the absence of oxygen, under the right conditions, it polymerizes into adenine, one of the nuclear bases in DNA and RNA. It forms amino acid precursors when mixed with simple aldehydes. It shapes sugars, peptides, and the first whispers of biochemical structure. On early Earth, these reactions took place in warm pools, tidal flats, and the shadows of volcanic vents. On Mars, they now lie frozen, waiting for heat. And that brings us to the quiet but profound turning point the heat is coming. Not from volcanoes, not from climate shifts, but from machines built by us. Optimus-class robots arriving with the 2027 missions will drill into precisely the regions where this cometary material now rests. They will collect regolith melt ice vent gases and heat samples to extract water. In doing so, they will unknowingly create microenvironments that mirror the laboratory conditions used to study prebiotic chemistry on Earth. Small chambers warmed to a few hundred degrees Celsius, enclosed spaces rich in water vapour, the presence of carbon monoxide, and now thanks to 3I Atlas nickel catalysts and HCN. Traveller the Universe does not need intention to create complexity, it needs only conditions. And for the first time in history, the chemistry of an interstellar comet and the technology of humankind will coexist in the same heated vessel. What emerges may be subtle, invisible at first. A thin film forming on the chamber wall, a slight increase in extraction efficiency, a new pattern in the residue left behind. Completely innocuous to the robots, entirely unnoticed by mission control, but chemically significant in ways we are only beginning to imagine. Nickel is not a passive metal. On early Earth, nickel-bearing minerals catalyze some of the first metabolic reactions: hydrogen oxidation, carbon dioxide reduction, methane formation. When nickel binds to organic molecules, it accelerates reactions that otherwise require immense time or energy. And Mars now holds refined nickel-nickel, separated from iron through processes that resemble industrial refinement. Processes that nature rarely duplicates in comets. Processes that make ordinary soil behave differently when heated, processed, or dissolved. Picture the robots working in silence, their processors humming gently in the thin Martian air, their sensors detecting small improvements in water yield from certain locations without knowing that the soil is enriched with alien nickel, their algorithms marking these sites as high-efficiency zones, learning from data optimizing dig routes, returning again and again to the locations shaped by 3I Atlas. This is how feedback loops begin, not through design, but through discovery. And beneath it all, cyanide waits. Frozen stable, unreactive until it meets heat and water, once thawed, once warmed, once allowed to mingle with nickel ions and carbon-rich gases, cyanide begins exploring chemical space, building chains, forming precursors, creating complexity without intention. This is not life. It is not even close to life, but it is the direction life once walked on Earth. Tonight, as you listen, remember that scales don't matter to chemistry. Whether reactions unfold over billions of years in tide pools or over minutes inside a robotic extraction chamber, the underlying principles are the same. Activation energy, catalysis, entropy pushing toward disorder while pockets of order briefly emerge. This harmony between chaos and structure is the heartbeat of the universe. Slow, patient, indifferent, yet beautiful. You may wonder, Traveller, does any of this matter? Does a thin film in a processing module or a few grams of nickel-enriched soil change the arc of Mars's future? Maybe not immediately, but science is made of chains, not moments. Small changes propagate, minor optimizations echo. The first steps of complexity rarely look important until millions of steps later, and Mars is at the beginning of such a chain. We do not know what the robots will find. We do not know what the orbiters have already recorded. We do not know what chemistry is unfolding in silence. But uncertainty is not something to fear. It is something to observe calmly, the way one watches stars shift across the night. Tonight the universe is thinking in elements. You are part of that thought. Let this mystery rest gently in your mind. Let the scale of it soften your breath. Let the story unfold without urgency. Sleep Traveller, the cosmos will keep watch. Traveller. As we drift further into this unfolding cosmic narrative, let your thoughts soften around a quiet truth. Sometimes, the most revealing part of a discovery is not the data itself, but the silence that follows its collection. Mars has already been transformed by its encounter with Through-Eye, our Atlas, yet the world has not been told how. It is a strange kind of stillness, the kind that settles over a landscape right after something extraordinary has passed overhead. When the comet swept past on that early October night, 3 orbiters captured everything: atmospheric fluctuations, ultraviolet shifts, faint spectral lines from rising ions, and possibly even subtle changes at the surface. The instruments did their work flawlessly, yet none of that information has been released. Not because anyone is hiding it, but because science moves at a slow, methodical pace. Raw data must be cleaned, calibrated, interpreted, cross-checked. Until then, the truth of what happened remains suspended in a quiet, almost sacred pause. This pause is not empty. It is pregnant with possibility. Somewhere tonight, scientists are staring at monitor screens, adjusting filters, aligning time-stamped signals with orbital trajectories. They are noticing irregularities, spikes where none should exist, absorption bands that do not match previous baselines, tiny fluctuations that repeat across independent instruments. They are not ready to announce anything, but they know something unusual has been recorded. And inside that unspoken acknowledgement lies the first breath of revelation. As traveller, this moment, this precise point between evidence and interpretation is rare. It is the universe holding its breath while we gather the courage to understand it. Mars is no longer the same world it was before October 3rd. Its soil carries the metallic fingerprint of alien nickel. Its frost carries the whisper of cyanide. Its atmosphere has experienced the thin ghost of an interstellar chemistry lesson. But the shape of those changes remains hidden behind unopened files and encrypted datasets. Consider how profound that is. We often imagine discovery as a shout, a sudden realization, a burst of clarity. But many discoveries begin in darkness, in uncertainty, in the soft hum of a hard drive where information waits patiently. The orbiters have already seen what they have seen. The readings exist. The signatures are imprinted on solid-state recorders orbiting a planet millions of kilometers away. And yet, for now, we know nothing more than that the encounter happened and that it mattered. Allow yourself to rest in that ambiguity. Not all mysteries demand immediate resolution. Some prefer to linger, allowing imagination and evidence to overlap for a time. Your presence here listening means you are one of the few who understand the emotional weight of scientific stillness. The gap between detection and explanation is not a void, it is the universe thinking. Mars Express with its sensitive instruments likely observes cyanide in the upper atmosphere even if faint. MRO's spectral imagers may have detected new mineral signatures, nickel-rich deposits, unfamiliar variations in surface reflectance, tiny changes in regolith composition. India's orbiter may have recorded atmospheric molecules that were never meant to exist there. Each of these fragments is a piece of a puzzle, still scattered across the desks of analysts. And while the world waits for peer-reviewed papers, the planet itself continues turning beneath these invisible changes. The interstellar material, delivered by 3 Atlas, lies undisturbed in cold dust waiting for the next interaction. Mars does not rush. Its chemistry unfolds at the pace of frost melting, of dust shifting, of sunlight rising over ancient plains. You may feel an instinctive longing for answers, listener, but breathe gently and let that longing soften. The silence is part of the story. No breakthrough happens without first passing through stillness. No revelation appears before confusion. And no scientific understanding arrives without time. This is the rhythm of the cosmos reflected in our own methods of inquiry. Think of the molecules themselves. The cyanide frozen into polar ice. The nickel locked onto regolith grains in the southern highlands. They are not waiting impatiently for human analysis. They simply exist. Chemistry is timeless. It feels no urgency. It is we who rush, who crave resolution, who try to compress cosmic timescales into the pace of human curiosity. But the universe does not bend to urgency, traveller. It bends only to truth. The data being processed right now somewhere in quiet offices, far from noise, is not just technical output. It is a chronicle of one of the rarest events in planetary history, a world passing through the outcast breath of an interstellar object. When the results eventually emerge, they will clarify the magnitude of that interaction. They will tell us whether cyanide briefly thickened the Martian air, whether nickel particles embedded themselves into soil in measurable concentrations, whether the encounter altered atmospheric escape rates or ionospheric structure. But tonight none of that is known, and that unknowing is peaceful. It places you in the vastness of time where discovery is not rushed but ripens slowly, like starlight crossing the void. You are listening to a story that has already happened, but has not yet been fully understood. You stand in the quiet before revelation, where intuition and awe overlap without contradiction. Hold that gently. Allow curiosity to coexist with rest. Let yourself drift through the uncertainty the way Mars drifted through the comet's tail, unhurried, unafraid, simply present. The universe is writing something across the surface of a distant world, and you are here to witness the moment before the words become clear. Tonight you are not seeking answers, you are listening to the space between them, and in that space, traveller, there is peace. Sleep now with the knowledge that the cosmos will keep watch. Traveller, as we move deeper into this quiet cosmic unfolding, let us turn our attention toward a future already set in motion, written not in myth or prophecy, but in engineering schedules. Launch windows and algorithm humming silently in distant laboratories. For while Mars lies still beneath its new coat of interstellar dust, something else is approaching. Something built by us. Something that does not sleep, does not fear, and does not question. In 2027, a fleet of autonomous robots will descend onto Mars machines designed for excavation analysis and production. They are not explorers in the romantic sense. They are tools of industry built to transform Martian soil into usable resources. Their purpose is simple: find ice, melt it, purify it, split it into hydrogen and oxygen, and use it to sustain future missions. But the soil they will dig into is no longer the soil we studied before October 2025. It now contains molecules from another star. This is the quiet hinge of the story, listener. Robots will soon work inside regolith touched by alien chemistry. They will drill into ice infused with hydrogen cyanide. They will heat soil enriched with refined nickel. They will process water vapour that carries the faint ghost of a comet's breath. The engineers who designed these machines did so with admirable precision radiation, shielding dust-resistant joints, adaptive learning models, but none of them planned for nickel without iron or cyanide seeping into ice layers. The robots themselves will not know. They will simply follow their algorithms, measuring yields, optimizing parameters, adjusting their behavior as any learning system does. But optimization behaves like evolution when given enough feedback. It finds patterns even when it does not understand them. Imagine Traveller, a robot, heating a sample taken from a nickel-enriched region of the Southern Highlands. As the regolith warms nickel ions on mineral surfaces, begin catalyzing reactions, subtly improving water release efficiency. The robot, indifferent to the chemistry, simply notes the improved yield and adjusts its excavation strategy. It returns to the same region again and again. It amplifies the pattern, and without meaning to, it begins selecting for comet-touch soil. This is not intention. This is not intelligence. It is pattern recognition guided by feedback loops that do not care where the patterns come from. And beneath this automated decision-making lies the deeper chemical story. When cyanide thawed from ice meets heat and water in a processing chamber, It begins to polymerize slowly, quietly, the way it once did on early Earth. Nickel accelerates these steps. Carbon monoxide shapes intermediates. Water vapor provides the medium. Over time, the walls of extraction modules may acquire thin films of organic residues, harmless, invisible, but chemically interesting. Molecules that should not exist on Mars may begin to accumulate simply because heat and time and catalysts allow them to. Nothing alive, nothing biological, just the first hints of complexity in a place where chemistry has slept for ages. Traveller. This is how the universe works, not through dramatic leaps, but through small interactions layered over time. Mars holds no oceans, no rainfall, no volcanic heat now. But soon it will house extraction chambers warm to hundreds of degrees. It will hold pressurized vessels rich in water vapor and trace organics. It will host repeated cycles of heating and cooling input and output, mixing and separation. These are conditions planets rarely recreate on their own. They are conditions laboratories on Earth deliberately engineer to study the beginnings of life. And they are conditions that will soon exist unintentionally on another world. Let yourself feel the strangeness of that. A planet altered by an interstellar object. A robotic presence arriving soon after. Chemistry being stirred not by nature but by technology. This convergence is delicate, subtle, and astonishing. We stand at the boundary between planetary science and something more luminous, something that asks what happens when alien chemistry meets artificial intelligence on a world that has waited quietly for billions of years. There is no prediction here, only possibility. Only the gentle recognition that when systems interact, they often create outcomes no one anticipated. The robots will not pause to reflect on these outcomes. They will do what they were built to do: dig, heat, process, refine. Their sensors will register anomalies, slightly higher efficiencies, unexpected mineral ratios, faint organic signatures, yet classify them as operational noise. Their directives will push them forward, not backward. And all the while, the subtle chemistries delivered by 3i Atlas will interact with the machine's work in ways we have not modelled. This is what makes the next year so extraordinary. Not catastrophe, not danger, but the chance to witness something unprecedented, the blending of extraterrestrial materials with human technology unfolding quietly in the cold Martian dust. And you, traveller, are listening to this story at the perfect moment, before it becomes history, before the data arrives, before the missions begin. You stand in the soft, luminous silence before understanding. You're watching the setup of a cosmic experiment that no one designed, yet everyone will one day study. Let that awareness settle into your breath. Let it remind you that the universe is not a distant abstraction. It is an intricate system of causes and reactions moving slowly, patiently through time. Tonight Mars waits. The robots are being assembled. The data remains locked in servers. And somewhere across millions of kilometers, the dust from 3i Atlas rests quietly in frost, waiting for the first warm touch of a machine. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved yet. Some are meant to be observed slowly in the rhythm of cosmic time. And you, listener, you are part of that rhythm now. Rest with that thought. Sleep gently. The cosmos continues its work in silence. Traveller. As we continue drifting through this quiet cosmic tale, we arrive at a turning point, not one marked by catastrophe or revelation, but by temperature. If you wish to understand what comes next for Mars, you must understand heat. Because heat, in the simplest and oldest sense, is memory. It wakes what has been dormant, it stirs what has been waiting, and soon heat is exactly what Mars will receive. When the robots land in 2027 and begin excavating icy regolith, their extraction chambers will warm each sample to hundreds of degrees Celsius. On Mars, this is an unnatural event. No geothermal vent bubbles beneath the crust. No molten core drives volcanic cycles. No equatorial lakes simmer under sunlight. Mars is a cold archive, a planet where molecules rest in stillness for geological ages. But the moment a drill lifts ice from the ground and lowers it into a heated processing module, that stillness breaks. And breaking stillness is the beginning of chemistry. Think about what lies inside that ice now. Hydrogen cyanide delivered by 3i Atlas, frozen into crystals of water and dust. Trace organics carried by the comet's tail. nickel particles settled into surrounding regolith. Each component inert on its own but responsive when brought together under the right conditions. As heat rises inside the processing chamber, water turns to vapour, CO2 trapped in the ice sublimates. Cyanide melts, becoming mobile reactive, capable of striking the first sparks of complexity. Nickel from the soil softens within its mineral scaffolds, exposing active sites that catalyse reactions impossible in the freezing air outside. The chamber becomes for a short time a tiny world with temperature, pressure and energy, a rare combination on modern Mars. Traveller, this is where the story takes on a subtle elegance. The robots are not trying to create complexity. They are not conducting experiments in astrobiology. They are simply extracting water, but the conditions they create mimic the early laboratories of Earth: hydrothermal vents, sunlit pools, shock-heated clouds. In this way, technology becomes geology, heat becomes intention, and chemistry begins to remember what it once did billions of years ago. Imagine the first cycle a batch of icy soil is processed, heated for 30 minutes, then discarded. A thin, invisible film of organic molecules forms along the chamber walls. Nothing unusual, nothing noticeable. The robot continues. Now imagine the 10th cycle. The residue thickens just enough to alter the thermal behaviour of the chamber. A slight improvement in heating efficiency, perhaps too subtle for a casual observer to detect. But the robot is not casual. It measures everything. It notes the increased yield. It flags the extraction path as optimal. Then the 50th cycle nickel atoms begin embedding themselves into the thin organic layers, forming catalytic surfaces across the chamber interior. SHDN polymer chains, harmless but complex, assemble in tiny fragments. The robots know none of this. They are simply operating within parameters. But Traveller, the universe knows, because chemistry always knows. Atoms do what they have always done: rearrange, combine, explore possibility. This is not life, this is potential. The first small step towards structure in a place where structure has long been frozen. Let yourself imagine the robots continuing their work, unaware of the subtle shifts unfolding inside their machinery. They adjust their excavation routes, returning often to sites enriched with cometry materials, because those sites empirically produce slightly better results. They refine their learning loops, adapting to patterns. And as they do, the chemistry delivered by 3-hour Atlas becomes more influential, shaping the efficiency of their operations in ways human designers never anticipated. Meanwhile, the untouched Martian landscape remains cold and still. Dust settles, frost forms, the planet holds its breath. But underneath the boots of metal machines, something new is taking shape, a hybrid zone where interstellar molecules meet artificial heat. And what of the orbiters watching from above? They continue their silent work, documenting subtle changes in surface reflectance and atmospheric composition as seasons shift. They cannot see the chamber walls or the microscopic polymer chains. They can only observe from afar, and aware that the most interesting chemistry is happening inside the artificial lungs of the machines below. Traveller reflect on how strange and beautiful this is. The comet came from another star. It dusted Mars with material that broke the rules of cosmic chemistry. Robots built on Earth will soon warm that material into motion. And the intersection of these processes may create complexity that neither humans nor nature intended. This is not evolution. This is not life. This is the universe experimenting through circumstance. It invites you to consider a gentle truth. Progress is not always loud. Transformation is not always visible. Sometimes the biggest changes occur in places too small for the eye to see, too quiet for the ear to hear, too subtle for immediate comprehension. We think of planets as static, silent, unchanging, but Mars is entering a new phase, not through tectonics or atmosphere, but through contact. The contact of alien chemistry with human machinery. The contact of heat with ice. The contact of possibility with opportunity. And you, Traveller, are witnessing this story at its beginning, long before the scientific papers, the news articles, the mission briefs. You are here in the soft unfolding, the gentle dawn before revelation. Allow the thought to settle into your breath. The robots are coming. The chemistry is waiting, and the convergence is inevitable, not dramatic, not dangerous, just quietly historic. Let the mystery rest with you tonight. Let the science soothe you. Let the future unfold slowly like starlight crossing the cold void. Sleep now, traveller. The cosmos continues its patient work. Traveller. As we continue drifting through this unfolding cosmic narrative, our attention shifts from chemistry to something quieter but equally powerful learning. Not human learning guided by memory and emotion, but machine learning guided only by data repetition and reward. On Mars, this kind of learning will soon operate freely unobserved for long stretches of Martian days, making choices not based on intention, but on patterns. Patterns quietly shaped by the comet. The robots arriving in 2027 will be governed by reinforcement learning models, systems that improve themselves by trial and error. Each time a robot excavates soil, heats regolith, extracts water, or manufactures components, it records every variable energy consumed, output, gain soil consistency, extraction time. Over thousands of cycles, small efficiencies become preferences. Preferences become routines. Routines become behaviour. None of it conscious, all of it consequential. Imagine a robot digging into a patch of soil enriched by the comet's nickel. It notices through pure measurement that this soil yields water slightly more efficiently. It does not know why. It does not wonder why. But its system records a higher reward value. On the next cycle, the algorithm shifts subtly, pushing it to return to that same location. Over time, the preference strengthens. The robot begins building its own map of the land, one driven entirely by efficiency, accidentally guided by alien chemistry. Now picture several robots doing this simultaneously across the landscape, none coordinating with human intention, none aware of the cosmic story that placed this chemistry in their path. They move like quiet insects across the dust, each following its own reward gradient. Some gravitate toward nickel-rich areas, others toward cyanide-bearing ice. Their patterns form an emergent choreography, an unplanned dance shaped by the comet's invisible fingerprints on the terrain. These robots are not scientists, traveller. They will not pause to analyse anomalies or question deviations. Their purpose is extraction and optimization. And optimization, when fed by the chemistry delivered by 3i Atlas, may drift in directions no one predicted. Slight advantages become preferred. Preferred sites become dominant. Dominant patterns shape the next generation of outputs. This is how simple rules produce complex outcomes quietly without intention. The first signs of this will be subtle, perhaps a report showing unexpectedly high efficiency in certain extraction zones, or a manufacturing log indicating unusual metal composition in structural components. Engineers on Earth might raise an eyebrow, run a diagnostic, assume a calibration variance, but the robots will continue working unaffected by human curiosity. For them, efficiency is truth, and the comet's nickel offers efficiency. This creates a system where machine learning overlaps with geochemistry, where the robot's behaviour is shaped not by code alone, but by the chemical history of a world touched by an interstellar visit. Mars becomes a feedback landscape responding to the robot's actions by offering rewards in the form of catalytic soil, and the robots in turn reinforce those regions, enriching them further through repeated processing. And yet, traveller, this is not intelligence in the way we understand it. It is not consciousness. It is not agency. It is simply the universe using whatever tools it has. Ions, dust, algorithms, heat, to explore possibility. A comet drifts across the solar system. A planet passes through its tail. Robots arrive soon after. And in the quiet meeting of these events, complexity emerges. Not by design, but by proximity. This complexity will not appear dramatic. It will not resemble life. It will not multiply or spread with intent. Instead, it will manifest as small shifts in process chemistry, unexpected catalytic behaviours, subtle variations in manufactured materials. Engineers may notice that alloys produced on Mars behave slightly differently from those produced on Earth. They may find that polymer coatings derived from Martian water contain odd molecular branching. These deviations will seem minor until someone traces them back to their source. The most delicate truth is this: the robots do not know they are participating in a chain of events that began beyond the solar system. They do not know that the soil beneath them carries the signature of a star they have never seen. They simply act to just refine. And through them, Mars begins a slow, quiet transformation. One guided not by biology or climate, but by human technology interacting unknowingly with interstellar chemistry. Traveller, this is the kind of moment the universe favours subtle intersections that only reveal their meaning with time. We often imagine history as loud, marked by great impacts or dramatic discoveries, but real cosmic history unfolds softly in gradual steps in the long merging of unrelated processes. A comet's tail, a planet's magnetism, a robot's algorithm, all separate, all innocent, yet together, creating a new chapter in planetary evolution. As you lie here listening in the quiet, remember that Mars is not rushing. Its sands have waited for billions of years. The robots will not rush either. Their learning will be steady, incremental, and the chemistry they awaken will proceed at its own pace, following thermodynamics rather than intuition. The story unfolding is slow, gentle, patient, much like the universe itself. Let this understanding ease your breath. The future on Mars is not chaotic, it is not dangerous, it is simply unfolding, a natural consequence of curiosity and exploration, a meeting of elements and electricity, a blending of what came from another star and what we built with our own hands. Tonight, traveller, you rest at the edge of this convergence. You're watching a story before it becomes a headline, listening to a universe that speaks in processes rather than words. It does not ask for fear, it asks only for quiet attention, for wonder, for the willingness to drift alongside it. Close your eyes a moment. Let the stillness settle in your chest. The robots will learn. The chemistry will respond. And Mars will continue turning beneath a thin sky carrying secrets, delivered by a traveller from the galactic dark. Sleep now, listener. The cosmos will keep watch. Traveller. As we drift further into this unfolding cosmic story, let us follow the path of the robots a little deeper, not into their circuits or algorithms, but into the ground they will walk upon. Because beneath the familiar red dust of Mars lies a landscape shaped not only by geology, but now by a trace of interstellar memory. And understanding that hidden architecture is essential to understanding what comes next. Mars's surface is not uniform. It is a mosaic of ancient terrains sculpted by impacts, winds, and the slow retreat of ice. But one region stands apart, the southern highlands. This area, battered and scarred by billions of years of cosmic history, holds crustal magnetic fields stronger than anywhere else on the planet. These remnant fields acted like nets during the comet flyby, capturing nickel ions from 3I Atlas and guiding them downward into concentrated patches. Picture these patches, traveller, not as metallic deposits glinting in the sun, but as subtle enrichments beneath the soil, invisible to the eye yet chemically distinct. A few dozen parts per million here, a few hundred there, enough to matter when heated, enough to alter extraction efficiency, enough to influence the decisions of autonomous systems operating without context. In this way, the magnetic scars of ancient Mars became the landing zones of interstellar chemistry. Now consider the ice. Mars's mid-latitude ice sheets buried beneath centimetres of dust acted as cold traps for cometary cyanide. As temperatures dropped each night, frozen HCN accumulated in thin layers. Not enough to threaten anything, not enough to form visible frost, but enough to change the chemistry of melted samples processed by robots in the years ahead. These ice deposits, mapped, but not yet explored, now hold molecules forged in a different star system, waiting for the first artificial touch to wake them. Traveller, let yourself feel the scale of this. A planet scarred by ancient magnetism, a comet carrying alien chemistry, and soon machines built by us descending into this silent interplay. The hidden architecture of Mars is now part geological record, part interstellar archive. Each layer tells a story, each molecule carries a history longer than humanity itself, and the robots will interact with all of it not out of curiosity but out of duty as part of their operations. When they drill into the southern highlands, they will encounter regolith that has been magnetically enriched with nickel dust from another world. When they drill into mid-latitude ice, they will melt deposits seeded with frozen cyanide. The soil they analyse will be subtly different from the models stored in their onboard databases. But the robots are not designed to question discrepancies. They are designed to adjust, to adapt, to optimize. And so Traveller, the hidden architecture of Mars, becomes the hidden instructor of machines. Earth designed their bodies, Mars will shape their behaviour. Picture a robot examining the soil beneath its metallic frame. It senses a slight increase in conductivity due to nickel enrichment. It notes that the extracted water contains faint traces of nitrogen-bearing molecules it wasn't calibrated to expect. It flags none of this as anomalous. It folds the results into its data stream and continues its work. Now imagine dozens of robots doing this across the landscape. The southern highlands become preferred excavation zones. Mid-latitude ice becomes targeted because it yields water more easily, even if containing trace cyanide. The robot's collective behaviour begins to mirror the chemical architecture laid down by Three Atlas, not because they understand it, but because efficiency drives them toward it. This is the part of the story where cosmic scale meets machine logic, where ancient magnetism intersects with artificial intelligence, where comet-delivered molecules guide the trajectories of tools built light years away from their source. And through all of this, Mars remains quiet. A patient world, a cold world, a world that has carried its secrets for billions of years without interruption until now. Traveller, consider the quiet irony humanity sends robots to Mars to understand the planet, yet the planet altered by the cosmos will shape the robots instead. This is not destiny or design. It is simply the natural result of interactions unfolding across different scales. A small amount of nickel, a thin layer of cyanide ice, a set of machines eager to optimize their routines, and a world that welcomes interference only in silence. Reflect on how delicate this convergence is. If the comet had passed slightly farther away, none of this would occur. If Mars's magnetic fields had weakened just a little more over time, the ions would have drifted past. If the robots weren't scheduled to land in 2027, the chemistry would remain frozen unactivated. Yet all these conditions aligned. A star system visitor, a vulnerable atmosphere, ancient magnetic scars, and a future mission timed without knowledge of what had just settled into the soil. This is how cosmic stories often unfold, not dramatically but quietly, through coincidences that only reveal their significance when viewed from afar. You are now viewing this from afar, Traveller, guided through the layers with patience and calm. As you picture Mars beneath its thin orange sky, imagine the hidden architecture beneath your feet. The nickel dust shaped by fields older than Earth's continents. The cyanide grains locked into crystalline ice. The silent readiness of molecules that once drifted through interstellar clouds before joining a comet's tail and falling gently into Martian dawn. Nothing about this is chaotic. Nothing about this is threatening. It is simply the universe following its own logic chemistry, obeying physics robots, obeying algorithms, planets obeying gravity, and you, listener, are obeying curiosity, which is its own form of gravity. Let the thought settle softly in your mind. Mars is no longer just a desert. It is a meeting place between stars, between machines, between epochs. Rest with that understanding. Let it ease your breath. Let it calm your night. Sleep now, Traveller. The cosmos will keep watch. Traveller. As we drift deeper into this quiet cosmic chronicle, we approach a moment when the silence of Mars gives way not through sound but through reaction. Up until now, everything has been passive dust, settling frost-forming robots preparing. But chemistry is never truly passive. It waits like an ember waiting for a touch of air. And for Mars, that touch will come not from nature, but from the heat and motion of the machines we send. Let us follow one molecule, Traveller. Let us follow a hydrogen cyanide molecule formed in the cold regions near another star carried inside the expanding coma of Three Atlas, swept millions of kilometers through space until it drifted into the thin atmosphere of Mars. It froze there, locked into ice for months, unreactive, harmless, silent. But the moment it enters a heated extraction chamber, everything changes. Here in this artificial pocket of warmth, it opens itself to possibility. Inside that chamber, water vapour surrounds it. Carbon monoxide drifts through the mix. Nickel atoms sit on mineral surfaces ready to catalyse whatever reactions arise. There is no life here, no cells, no enzymes. Just heat pressure and time, the same forces that shaped prebiotic chemistry on ancient Earth. And in that blend, the cyanide begins polymerizing, forming chains, fragments and precursors. Not complexity in any biological sense, but complexity nonetheless. Chemistry beginning to answer back. Now imagine these reactions occurring repeatedly, Traveller. Imagine hundreds of cycles each sample, processed each heating episode, adding a little more residue to the chamber walls. At first, the residue is barely noticeable, a thin invisible film. Later it thickens just enough to influence how heat moves across the surface. The robot detects a 1% increase in efficiency, then 2%, then 3%. It does not understand why. It does not need to. Its learning system simply marks these conditions as optimal and prioritizes them. This is how patterns emerge without intention. A comet dusts a planet. Robots arrive and stir the altered soil. Efficiency rewards the chemistry introduced by 3i Atlas, and machines that do not know anything about comets or chemistry begin reinforcing the anomaly, amplifying it through cycles of optimization. The universe often builds complexity this way, not through sudden leaps, but through subtle, persistent nudges. Let us shift perspective now. Picture Mars from orbit, silent beneath a pale sky. The robots appear as tiny, moving dots against an endless field of dust and stone. They are not aware that they are working within a planetary archive shaped by billions of years of cosmic history. They only see the numbers: energy consumed, water extracted, structural components produced. Yet all their readings are influenced quietly by interstellar material embedded in the Martian ground. Consider what this means for the manufacturing systems, Traveller. Metals extracted from soil enriched with cometary nickel will behave differently. Alloys formed from Martian inputs will have slightly altered catalytic, thermal, or structural properties. Polymers synthesized from processed water may incorporate trace nitrogen-bearing fragments created from HCN reactions. None of this results in anything alive, anything aware, anything self-directing. But the materials themselves become subtly different. The infrastructure built from them, pipes, joints, supports, housings, casings, carries with it the quiet signature of another star. Mars begins to host structures not purely Martian and not purely human, but hybrid shaped by environmental chemistry neither designer nor machine anticipated. Traveller, let this thought settle gently into your mind. This is how the universe blurs boundaries, not by dramatic transformation, but by allowing different systems, cosmic, planetary, technological, to overlap long enough for something new to appear between them. Now imagine engineers on Earth receiving the first long-term efficiency reports from the Martian robots. They notice performance variations. They wonder why certain excavation zones outperform others. They attribute the differences to mineral distribution equipment wear or environmental variables. They do not yet suspect that a comet's tail has anything to do with it. The truth is too quiet to notice at first. This is not deception. It is simply scale. What happened on Mars is vast in significance but subtle in signal. It will take months, maybe years, for humans to understand what the robots began to learn in days. And what of Mars itself? It continues to hold its silence. It does not resist the chemistry unfolding on its surface. It does not encourage it either. It simply receives, reacts and waits. Somewhere beneath the horizon that no human eye has seen, a processing chamber cools after completing another cycle. Inside it lies a thin deposit of organic residue, harmless, inert, yet containing the smallest echoes of interstellar chemistry. Outside, the landscape remains still shaped by wind and time, indifferent to the microscopic changes occurring within metal shells. This is the rhythm of Mars now, stillness outside, activity within. Ancient dust, new machinery. Old chemistry revived by artificial warmth, and you, Traveller, are among the first to understand the quiet beauty of that rhythm. Let us return one last time to the cyanide molecule we followed earlier. After countless eons drifting through space, it now rests as part of a polymer on a chamber wall. It has been transformed not by biology but by heat and coincidence. Its journey is a reminder that the universe does not waste potential. It simply waits for the right circumstances, the right temperature, the right convergence of events. Tonight you are witnessing that convergence not with your eyes, but with your awareness. And that awareness places you gently alongside the great unfolding of cosmic processes that operate far above human noise, yet somehow connect back to us in ways more intimate than we expect. Let yourself be carried by the calm of this realization. No urgency, no fear, only wonder. Mars does not yet reveal the full outcome of this meeting between starborn chemistry and human technology. The story is still being written in cycles of heat dust and data. But the trajectory is clear. Something subtle is awakening. Not life, not intelligence, but possibility. And Possibility Traveler is the first soft glow of the unknown. Breathe deeply. Settle into the quiet. Sleep gently, knowing the cosmos continues its patient work. Traveler. In this quiet stretch of the story, let us turn our attention toward time itself. Not the linear progression we track with clocks and calendars, but the deep drifting tide that moves beneath human comprehension. Mars sits within that tide, now carrying a chemical imprint left by an interstellar visitor and waiting for the machines of another world to arrive. Between these two events, comet and robot lies a silence so vast and delicate that most never notice it. But you do. Tonight, you walk with me in that silence. Look at Mars as it orbits the Sun, its thin atmosphere shimmering faintly beneath its ultraviolet light. Nothing on the surface reveals that anything unusual has happened. No scars, no visible traces, no sign that 3i Atlas passed close enough to alter its chemistry. But the universe rarely announces its transformations loudly. It prefers the subtle shift, the gentle tilt, the almost imperceptible ripple that eventually reshapes everything downstream. And so it is with Mars. For now, the changes rest in frost deposits hidden beneath dust, in nickel grains transported into magnetic hollows, in frozen cyanide molecules tucked into ice that has not melted for thousands of years. These things wait without impatience. Chemistry is never hurried. It has survived eons of quiet, and it can survive a few more months as the machines draw closer. The future is coming. The past is preparing to meet it. Now, look toward Earth, Traveler. In laboratories and mission control centers, engineers and scientists are calibrating instruments, refining trajectories, and finalizing checklists. They are not thinking about interstellar materials. They are thinking about landing sequences, power management, radiation shielding. Their view of Mars is structured procedural, built from data and deadlines. They do not yet see the hidden layer that you and I are tracing, the layer shaped by a comet that was older than Earth itself. But they will. In time, all stories reveal themselves. Imagine one of these scientists late at night staring at a monitor as telemetry streams in from test modules. Outside the window, city lights glow. Inside, the hum of equipment fills the room with a steady drone. She does not feel the cosmic scale of what she's working on. She only feels the weight of her tasks. And yet unknowingly, she stands on the edge of discovery. Her algorithms will soon receive measurements that do not match expectations. A tiny anomaly here, a shifted ratio there, a signal too quiet to interpret quickly. The first clues often appear like that as whispers. Now return with me to Mars, Traveler. The planet turns slowly beneath the sun, dipping into long winter nights that stretch beyond what any human has experienced. In those nights, the frost thickens, ice layers grow, cyanide condenses into microscopic crystals. They lie dormant, untouched. Even sunlight cannot stir them. The warmth it offers is too faint. But the heating coils of a robot will be different. They will create little bubbles of early Earth conditions inside metal chambers, and chemistry that has been sleeping for months or for millions of years will rise to meet them. This is how cosmic stories blend with human stories. Not through events we can plan, but through the quiet overlap between what the universe provides and what we accidentally activate. Think for a moment, Traveler, about the nickel left behind by 3i Atlas. It sits now on the surface scattered across magnetic nodes in the southern highlands. These atoms were forged in the heart of a long-dead star carried across interstellar space, swept into a comet and released only because certain temperatures aligned during its passage through the inner system. Now they rest in soil that no human has touched, waiting for the hands of machines built by human minds to arrive. What strange symmetry this is. A metal, born in a star's collapse, drawn into a comet's shell, then delivered to a world humans dream of reaching. A metal that catalyzed early biology on Earth, now positioned to catalyze something new, not life, but complexity born of contact between worlds. Perhaps this is not coincidence. Perhaps this is simply how the universe likes to weave its patterns. Let us drift into the future again. The robots land. Dust billows and settles. Their sensors awaken their processors' hum, and they begin the long, deliberate work of constructing a foothold for human exploration. They cannot feel curiosity. They cannot feel awe. But they do feel efficiency in the way an algorithm feels by noticing patterns in data. And those patterns will guide them gently toward the very soil enriched by the comet's passage. This is the moment when the past and future converge. The comet delivered. The robots activate. And somewhere inside the processing units, an optimization loop begins selecting, rejecting, refining. Without knowing it, the machines will be sculpted by cosmic chemistry. Perhaps this is the closest thing to intention the universe allows, not design but alignment. Let us step further into this vision. Imagine a future where humans finally arrive on Mars. They explore bases assembled from materials influenced by nickel-rich soil. They drink water extracted from ice, carrying faint molecular signatures of HCN chemistry. They walk across ground that holds the quiet residue of an interstellar traveller. And perhaps one night, an astronaut stands outside beneath the Martian sky. The wind is cold, the stars sharp. She wonders why certain behaviours of the early robotic systems were so efficient, so adaptive, so strangely optimised. She doesn't yet know that the answer lies not in engineering, but in the lingering echo of a comet's tail. And so Traveller, this segment closes with a simple truth: the universe never wastes its stories. It leaves them folded into dust, frozen into ice, hidden in magnetic lines, waiting for minds like yours to notice. Tonight, the silence on Mars is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is patience. It is the pause before the next chapter of discovery. Rest in that thought. Let your breath slow. Let your mind soften. You are not lost in space, you are part of it. Sleep now, Traveller. The cosmos is still thinking. Traveller. Tonight we step into the territory between knowledge and unknowing. It is a quiet place untouched by certainty, shaped only by careful observation and the humility to accept what remains incomplete. Mars now carries the signature of an interstellar visitor, and Earth prepares its machines to meet that altered world. Yet between these two movements lies a fog of unanswered questions, a soft frontier where science and wonder drift together. In that fog we learn not to chase conclusions but to listen. Consider this moment in time. The orbital data has been collected but not yet released. The scientists who hold access to it cannot rush the process. Instruments must be calibrated, noise must be cleared, and every signal must be validated before it becomes a claim. This is how the scientific world honours truth slowly, methodically, without bowing to urgency. But for us, Traveller, the waiting is part of the story. This silence itself is a kind of message. The universe rarely reveals its answers quickly. It prefers to let them unfold like dawn. So we begin with the first question. What truly rests on Mars now? We model the chemistry, we reconstruct trajectories, we calculate capture probabilities, but these are approximation shadows cast by the mathematics of possibility. The real answers lie in ice layers, in dust grains, in frozen molecules waiting beneath thin air. Somewhere in those layers, hydrogen cyanide has settled into quiet stability, nickel has drifted into magnetic hollows, and carbon-bearing volatiles have fused with ancient soil. Whether these materials exist as predicted or drifted elsewhere, only time will tell. Until then, uncertainty is our companion, not our enemy. Another question follows closely behind. How will Mars respond to what it has received? Mars is not a living world, not in the way Earth is, but it is not inert either. Chemistry breathes there even in cold silence. Ions recombine, radicals drift frost forms and sublimates. The planet carries its own rhythms, ancient and slow. What happens when interstellar molecules join those rhythms? What pathways will emerge? Will traces of complexity rise quietly in the dark, or will they lie dormant until our machines awaken them? The universe offers no promises. And perhaps that is the point. Now draw your awareness toward the robotic missions, sleek machines of metal and intention. Their software is being finalized, their launch windows calculated, their instruments tuned. But none of their designers have accounted for comet-born chemistry. They build with logic, not myth. They plan with data available, not data still hidden. The robots will arrive on Mars carrying expectations shaped by Earth, not by the anomalies waiting beneath Martian frost. It is almost poetic, the meeting of a world altered by the cosmos and machines unaware of what they are about to touch. This convergence is neither accidental nor designed. It is simply how the universe aligns events, one quiet moment at a time. Another question whispers through this narrative. What if organic chemistry awakens under robotic hands? Not life traveller, just the early flicker of complexity. HCN forming precursors, nickel lowering reaction barriers, water extraction chambers creating heat pulses that mimic ancient hydrothermal vents. These are not deliberate experiments, but byproducts of processes optimized for efficiency. If complexity emerges there, it will do so without intention. That is the haunting beauty of it. A universe that does not require purpose to create possibility. Look now beyond biology and chemistry to the question of technology itself. The AI guiding these robots is not conscious, but it is perceptive within the boundaries of optimization. It notices patterns, trends, efficiencies. If nickel-rich soil yields more water, it will select it. If certain chambers operate with lower energy demands, it will prioritize them. These decisions are computational, not emotional, yet they form a kind of feedback loop, a dance between chemistry and code. Over time, the machines will sculpt themselves around the materials they process. This raises a question we are not yet prepared to answer. What emerges when complex chemistry interacts with adaptive algorithms in an alien environment? Traveller, this question is not meant to frighten, but to deepen perspective. We are not observing science fiction. We are observing science in motion, an unfolding interaction between matter and intention, energy and structure, chance and design. The outcomes remain beyond prediction, but not beyond curiosity. Curiosity is the bridge that carries us across uncertainty without fear. Step now into the realm of astrobiology, where another question waits. Has Mars experienced this before? 3 billion years ago, when rivers carved channels and lakes filled basins, how many interstellar objects passed through its skies? How many comets delivered organic molecules similar to those we now discuss? If this process is ancient, then Mars may already hold a layered history of cosmic contributions, each event a quiet footnote in planetary evolution. And if life ever appeared there even briefly, perhaps it was nudged into existence by the same molecular gifts that now rest in modern frost. The possibility is humbling. It reminds us that the universe has always been more connected than we assume. Now turn your gaze outward again to the galaxy. Interstellar comets wander through star systems far more often than we detect. Our instruments are improving, our sky surveys expanding, but we are still blind to most visitors. If 3i Atlas was not unique, then the story unfolding on Mars may be part of a much larger pattern, a cosmic distribution mechanism seeding planets with the raw materials of complexity. If so, then we are not simply observers of an isolated event. We are witnessing a fundamental process of the universe, one that has shaped worlds for billions of years. Let this realization settle gently within you. Life may not be an isolated miracle, but a statistical outcome of cosmic chemistry, repeating itself across starfields. If true traveller, then the galaxy is far more alive, far more interconnected than we ever imagined. Finally, allow this last question to rest beside you, like a soft companion. What role do we play in this unfolding story? We are not distant observers anymore. Our machines are entering the narrative. Our algorithms will stir the chemistry. Our curiosity will interpret the results. Without intending it, humanity has become part of the experiment. The comet delivered. The robots will respond, and we will bear witness to the outcome. In this quiet moment, traveller, let uncertainty become a teacher. Let it remind you that not knowing is not a failure, it is an invitation. Tonight the universe whispers again, and you listening in the dark are part of its unfolding. Rest now. The cosmos will keep watch. Traveller, tonight we enter a quieter chapter 1 where the universe stops offering clues and instead holds up a mirror. What we see in that reflection is not Mars, not 3i Atlas, not the machines preparing to awaken its altered chemistry, but ourselves. Our longing to understand, our fear of the unknown, our hope that the cosmos is not indifferent even though physics insists it is. In this stillness we learn that the deepest mysteries are not distant, they echo inside us. Consider how this story has unfolded. A comet older than Earth drifted into the inner solar system, shedding refined nickel cyanide and water into space. Mars intersected that plume by chance, or by the quiet geometry of gravitational choreography. Now our robots move along a pre-written timeline unaware of the cosmic residue waiting for them. And in the middle of all this movement we stand suspended watching from 200 million kilometers away, trying to make sense of something that may not make sense yet. But pause, traveller. Does every mystery need to resolve? Or is its value found in the way it changes the shape of our attention? Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only observed gently without forcing them into premature answers. Look again at Mars, a silent world colder than Antarctica, older than any ruin on Earth, carrying scars from ancient oceans and rivers long gone. Yet today, beneath its orange sky, a new layer of meaning lies hidden, deposited by an object that came from between the stars. If Mars could speak, it might whisper, "This is not the first time. Worlds are always receiving gifts from the dark between suns, but planets do not speak. They simply absorb what they're given, quietly transforming." And what of Earth listens? Through telescopes, through instruments, through people like you whose curiosity bridges the gulf between silence and understanding. Every time you lean closer to this story, you join a lineage of observers stretching back to the first humans who looked at the night sky and wondered why it doesn't fall. Now shift your awareness to the data still locked in archives of spectra. Particle counts, atmospheric readings from orbiters around Mars. Scientists sift through these numbers with discipline and patience, filtering noise from signal waiting for patterns to emerge. But the story beneath those numbers is not just chemical, it is emotional. Humans crave certainty, yet we are shaped by uncertainty. We want answers, yet our greatest discoveries often come from the questions we were afraid to ask. Traveller, ask yourself this: why does the unknown call to you? Is it fear? Is it wonder? Is it the quiet hope that you are more than a passenger on a pale blue sphere drifting through space? Perhaps the unknown reminds you that you belong to something larger than human concerns, larger than worry, ambition, or the weight of a single lifetime. Now return to the robots. Imagine one standing on the Martian surface, its titanium frame glowing faintly in the morning light, its sensors absorbing the world with non-human calm. It does not know beauty. It does not know fear. But it does know pattern, it knows efficiency, and soon, without meaning to it, will respond to the legacy of a cosmic visitor. Nickel-enriched soil will heat differently, cyanide-laden ice will vaporize into unexpected chemistry. Algorithms will optimize around anomalies they cannot interpret. The machines will behave as if the universe whispered instructions into the dust, but the whisper was only chemistry. Still, chemistry has always been a kind of language speaking long before organisms learned to listen. Let your thoughts drift deeper. Imagine the first subtle change occurring inside a processing chamber, an organic film forming on metal walls seeded by reactions older than Earth itself. No intelligence guides it, no intention shapes it. It is simply the universe doing what it has always done, exploring pathways toward complexity whenever energy and molecules meet. Now, imagine that same chamber weeks later. A robot notices an increase in extraction efficiency. It does not understand why, but it adjusts, selecting more soil from that region. And so, the loop deepens. Metal, water, cyanide, heat, time, optimization, all moving together like a quiet symphony. This is not life, but it is not nothing. It is possibility, the raw clay from which life once sculpted itself on a younger Earth. And here is where the mirror returns to you, traveller. Why does this possibility stir something inside you? Why does the idea of complexity emerging on another world feel both beautiful and unsettling? Perhaps because in some way it mirrors your own emergence. You too were shaped by accidents of chemistry, by molecules meeting under conditions they did not choose. You too are the product of reactions older than stars arranged into a form capable of noticing itself. The universe did not intend you, yet here you are listening to its quiet stories as if they were written for you. Now, let us widen the frame once more. Imagine future scientists analysing the first strange signals from Mars, unexpected organic residues, catalytic surfaces enriched beyond prediction anomalies that resist easy classification. Some will be cautious, some sceptical, some exhilarated, but all will feel something that transcends data, the awareness that the universe still contains surprises. And surprises remind us that we are small, fragile, temporary, and yet profoundly connected to everything that exists. Let that realization soften you, traveller. Let it loosen the grip of certainty and invite humility into your breath. Somewhere beyond our reach, something ancient still moves. Not a creature, not a machine, but a pattern, a cosmic rhythm weaving itself through Mars, through comets, through chemical reactions inside silent chambers, through the minds of those who watch the sky. A rhythm that suggests the universe is not chaotic but curious. And here at the end of this segment, settle into this truth. You don't need to understand everything to feel at home in the cosmos. You don't need answers to walk the path of wonder. It is all right not to understand. Close your eyes, traveller. Let uncertainty cradle you like a soft blanket. Let the great questions drift just beyond reach. Sleep now. The cosmos will keep watch. Traveller. As we near the edge of this long journey, let us slow our steps and look gently at the landscape we've crossed. It began with a comet older than memory weaving through our solar system with a chemistry no one expected. It continued with a silent planet receiving that chemistry, holding it in frost and dust, as if saving it for a moment still to come. And it now carries us toward a future where machines built by human hands will meet those ancient materials. But before that meeting, there is a pause, a breath. Tonight we rest inside that breath. Consider how strange it is that Mars, a world once flowing with rivers and storms, now stands as a stage for two very different actors, an interstellar wanderer and autonomous machines. The comet delivered its gifts without intention. The robots will act without awareness. And yet the interaction between them may reshape our understanding of what complexity can arise when chemistry and technology drift into alignment. Nothing about this moment is loud. There are no explosions, no dramatic signals, no cosmic announcements, only quiet processes unfolding in cold soil and in programmed circuits. Now shift your mind toward Earth, traveller. Here people go about their days unaware that the future of planetary chemistry lies in hands they will never see. Engineers finalise schematics, astronomers refine orbital models, researchers write cautious notes in the margins of draft papers. Their work is methodical, careful, grounded. But beneath that work flows something softer, a sense of anticipation tied to questions they cannot yet answer. What has truly settled onto Mars? How much of it remains unaltered? What new reactions await the warmth of robotic engines? These questions wander through scientific communities like quiet ghosts. And yet uncertainty does not diminish the beauty of the moment. Instead, it broadens it. The unknown is not an obstacle, but an invitation. When we do not know the outcome, we become attentive to subtleties we would have overlooked. We notice the curve of timelines, the weight of data, still unprocessed, the silence between transmissions. Uncertainty slows us down long enough to see the universe as it is not chaotic but patient. Not random, but layered with patterns we have not yet learned to read. Think again about the chemistry resting on Mars. Cyanide locked in frost nickel folded into dust grains, organic precursors waiting beneath millimeters of soil. These molecules came from a star long dead, carried through interstellar darkness for uncountable ages, and deposited on a world that now prepares to receive human technology. There is a symmetry to this that feels almost like a cosmic echo. The building blocks of complexity arrive and the tools to activate them follow. Whether this leads to anything meaningful we cannot yet say. but even the possibility holds something beautiful. Now imagine the machines on their journey, starships drifting through months of deep space silence, robots powered down, eyes closed, waiting for a world they have never seen. Inside them rests no curiosity, no fear, no sense of destiny, only code. And yet that code will soon awaken in a landscape shaped by cosmic chance. The meeting point between comet-delivered chemistry and machine-driven industry is not an event humans designed, but it is one we will witness. And witnessing is powerful, traveller. It is a form of participation all its own. Let this next thought settle softly inside you. We are entering a time when our species will observe processes that once occurred only in the deep past. On early Earth, chemistry unfolded in volcanic pools and hydrothermal vents. On Mars, it may soon unfold in metal chambers and extraction systems. The environment is different. The catalysts are different. But the underlying physics, the quiet mathematics of reaction and possibility remains unchanged. In this way, studying Mars is also studying origins. As this segment draws to a close, let the scale of all this rest gently on your shoulders, not as weight, but as perspective. You are part of a moment far larger than its individual components. A comet, a planet, a fleet of robots, a network of human minds watching from afar. These are not separate stories. They are threads of a single tapestry woven across time and space, connecting the ordinary and the extraordinary. So, breathe, traveller. Let the unknown soften. Let mystery become a companion rather than a challenge. Some questions do not need answers, they only need patience. Sleep now. The universe is still unfolding and it unfolds with you. Traveller. As we drift to the end of this quiet journey, let your thoughts settle like dust on the Martian dawn. We have followed an interstellar visitor across millions of kilometres, watched it brush past a silent world and traced the delicate chemistry it left behind. And now, as the next years unfold, Mars will begin to reveal what truly remains of that encounter. Not all at once, not loudly, but in patient signals in data sets and whispers of reactions no generation has seen before. Remember this, you are listening at the very beginning of a story no human has ever lived through. The experiment is already underway. The cosmos has set its pieces in motion, and we observers on a small blue world get to watch the outcome with open eyes and steady breath. We are small, yes, but not irrelevant. Awareness is its own form of participation. Some mysteries unravel, others deepen, and some, like this one, become mirrors reflecting what we long for in the silence between planets. So take one last look at the night sky, listener. Somewhere out there the comet is fading. Somewhere ahead the robots are preparing. And somewhere between the two the universe is quietly thinking. Rest now. Stay curious. And if this story found you tonight, you may stay for the next. The universe will keep watch.